morning. Welcome to the Thursday, October 30th Mesa City Council study session. I'm Vice Mayor Chris Glover. I'll be conducting this meeting. We'd like to excuse Mayor Giles. The first item on the agenda is to review items for the November 3rd regular City Council meeting. I'll wait for all of my colleagues to be able to pull up the agenda. All right. Items 2 through 3D. Items 3E through 3J. Items 4A through 4B. Items 4C through 4D. Items 4E. Through 4F, and I have a question on 4F and 4G. If Mr. Hume could come up the dais. Good morning, Lenny.
Good morning, Vice Mayor. How you doing?
My question is, can you go over the criteria that you use in both 4F and 4G, and would it be possible to get maps of where the replacements will be and where the additional lights will be?
Sure. Yes, we have maps. In fact, I checked with staff this morning. We have a spreadsheet. I can just have them produce the map first part next week. The criteria for our rusted pole replacement, we test a third of our direct burial poles and our painted base mounted poles every year, and we go through and dig around them, do a poke test on it with a hammer and a device that tested it. If it fails, then we replace those poles. If we have an inordinate amount of poles in a subdivision or a neighborhood, we see they're failed, is it 5 or 6 poles, and we do the whole neighborhood, and that's how we select the poles. We're averaging about 400 pole replacements a year in neighborhoods. It's gone up since we started this about 10 years ago. We saw an increase in some poles. Initially, we were just testing direct burial poles, and we've also noticed that some of our painted poles that are failing too. And we've had our manufacturer go in and actually apply a bituminous product on the inside of the pole. We see it rusting down at the base, the irrigation or something's around that. So we've actually had our suppliers that had a material inside to prevent the rusting on the inside. So, in the neighborhoods, we identify them. With these contracts, we have one contractor that focuses on a large order. We have those already designed, ready to go. So, again, as I mentioned earlier, if we have a subdivision that has our neighborhood that has 5 or 6 poles in there, we replace them and we give it to one contractor. The other one is the spot improvements. Just last night, we had a pole fall down. It's been tested, but it fell down, so we're testing the whole neighborhood to see if there's any other issues out there. The other contractor will be working on those spot improvements.
Okay. Thank you.
Betcha.
Items 4H through 4I. Then item 4J, Ms. Spinner, I know that you wanted to address some of the questions that have been raised by council beforehand.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Council. On Monday, you'll be asked to take action on the purchase of procurement for the coming year. And at the study session, when we met with you in September, you had a number of questions regarding it. So we have Mark Stedman and Lisa Lortz here to tell you what the bids look like and also answer the questions that you asked in September.
Good morning, Vice Mayor and Council. And this is Lisa Lortz, City's risk manager. At your direction, we asked for bids for a number of insurance carriers. As compared to last year, our premiums will be slightly less, and we've negotiated better levels of coverage. Looking at the chart, which you don't have, do you have that up? Oh, there it is. You can see with regard to excess liability, that's liability from third-party claims against the city. We've been able to increase our limits to $50 million from $40 million as it was in 13-14, but still saved about almost $39,000. With regard to property insurance, we got 2 carriers that provided good bids, but they were close. We went back to them and asked them to give us better bids and to relook at some areas of coverage. And so we got a substantial savings on premiums of $57,000. And that gets to the first question council asked us back in September, which was looking at lower levels of deductible. At potentially, we now have a $50,000 deductible per property loss. So we asked for bids on a $25,000 deductible property loss. Several carriers did not want to quote that for such a large entity as us, and said that, for the most part, you all are self-insured, and so day-to-day losses really should be handled by you. We're looking more at big losses. That's the kind of coverage we want to provide. But some carriers did provide bids. The dropping from a $50,000 deductible to a $25,000 deductible would have increased our premiums about 15%, I think 16%. But what we were able to do was to go back to one of the carriers and at both carriers and ask, what they could do in terms of helping us lower that deductible. And one carrier, Travelers, offered to lower the vehicle deductible from 50 to 25 at no additional cost. And so they were able to keep that pretty good bid on the premium and still give us $25,000 deductible, a better deductible on property loss. So that was our recommendation to go with that carrier. Second question council asked was we have a $300 million property loss stop, meaning although we have $1.2 million in city property that's insured for property insurance, we only buy coverage up to $300 million because the likelihood of a loss of every item of the city's property is extremely unlikely. So, but council asked us, well, could we get perhaps a better bid at $200 million? We went back and actually the premium didn't change at all. And that was because the carriers told us, we basically are insuring your risk of your most valuable building, which is about $140 million. And with a cushion, maybe they kind of look generally at maybe double the value of that building. That's what they think their greatest loss will be. So, so for them, $200 million doesn't decrease their exposure, so they didn't give us a better premium.
$100 million building, I assume, is not this one.
That's correct. All right. The last item was cyber risk. We, at council's direction, we solicited bids at $10 million in coverage. That's twice the coverage that we had last year, double the coverage. And a premium did go up on that. You can see about from $87,000 to $107,000. But given the increased cyber risks and sort of the MCC's experience, we still think that even with the increased premium, it's doubling our coverage in that area is warranted. The final question that council asked was, Councilmember Summers asked about whether having a chip in the credit card as compared to just the magnetic strip will result in lower premiums with regard to the city's cyber risk. We followed up with several carriers on that, and they agreed. And by the way, there is some track record of experience in Europe which uses a chip in the credit card instead of the magnetic strip. And the carriers, not surprisingly, said, well, we think that'll help security, but until we see a track record, a history of lower financial losses, we're not going to lower premiums. And unfortunately, by the time there's that track record in place of maybe better security with that chip card, there may be additional security risks that are raised by hackers and things like that. So there was no promise of lower premiums, although they all recommended that that is a direction that the city could be looking at to reduce its risk. Yes.
Any questions? All right. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Items 4K through 5C. Items 5D through 6B. Items 6C through 7E. And that concludes the consent agenda for Monday. All right, the next item on the agenda is to hear a presentation and discuss the application of Municipal.
morning, Vice Mayor, City Council. My name is Neil Curley. I'm the Management Assistant in the City Manager's Office. Here with me today is Ian Linson, City Council Assistant. We're here to talk to you about Mesa's participation in the Code for America Fellowship Program. And at the end of the presentation, Ian is actually going to take us through a live demonstration of Municipal, the application. What you're going to see today is the beta version, so still undergoing the last rounds of testing. But it's 90% of the way there, and most of the major functions and features exist today. And so go ahead. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and take a look back. Code for America is a nonprofit based out of San Francisco that identifies civic needs and addresses them through the use of technology. And their flagship program is the Fellowship Program. And Mesa was one of 10 cities selected to participate in the 2014 Fellowship Program. We actually have one of our fellows here today, Tom Buckley, is with us, and he'll be in Mesa for the next several days working with our IT department, training them on Municipal and working on that transition plan to give that over to city staff. So Tom and the other two fellows came out to Mesa in February, met with several city departments, city staff, to gain a greater understanding of the services that we deliver and how the city functions. They also met with several community groups, local businesses, nonprofits, and neighborhood leaders to learn what services they were consuming, how they interact with the city, how often they were interacting with the city, and where those interactions occurred. So with that, they kind of took all that information, gathered lots of information from interviews, and went back to San Francisco, put their heads together with the fellows from the other 10 cities, and started to identify some emerging trends or themes. And what they found was that residents want to engage. This was kind of a common topic that really came up in a lot of the conversations they had. And not only do residents want to engage with the city, but they also want to engage with their neighbors and have an opportunity to talk about those civic issues, those things that the city is doing that affect kind of the local community and their immediate area. So with that, then they created some prototypes, came back out to Mesa, and did lots of user testing, several rounds of user testing to determine what idea is going to work. What idea do we really think residents are going to get behind and use? And with that, they started to hone in their idea and really focus on legislation. So those actions that the city takes that impacts people's neighborhoods and giving them an opportunity to really stay current in a very easy, convenient way, and also have an easy, convenient way to add to that public dialogue and interact with their neighbors on those issues that the city was considering. With that, I'll go ahead and toss it over to Ian to talk about Municipal.
And yeah, so great. So what they did before they started working on the actual coding is they took a look at what we use today and the legislative system, how people can pull up information, how they can find what's upcoming on an agenda, and they started with Legistar, and we're all familiar with that. And it's a product that obviously provides all the information that somebody would need. You're able to see the agendas as they come up, and you're able to kind of take a look at the different items, but it's not necessarily the most intuitive or easy for a first-time user. If I were to pull somebody off the street and see if they could find what's coming up for next Monday's council meeting, it would be somewhat difficult for them to just intuitively go through the process. And in addition to that, what they found is that there was a series of obstacles that people would face if they wanted to interact with the legislation and with council. And the main feature that's missing from Legistar is an ability to provide feedback on an upcoming agenda item. So you can review all the details, but you can't actually express your opinion. You can't necessarily interact with the city directly through Legistar, and you can't hear what other people are saying about the item. So that was their starting point. And the next several months, they decided to build on top of that. So they really got into the nuts and bolts of coding a new program. And again, what they wanted to do with a new application was to reduce the barriers to engaging, make it easier for somebody to be able to provide their feedback and feel like they were a little bit more available or part of the process. So what they came up with was Municipal. And again, Municipal is, I will load up a live demo here for you. So somebody would come right to this screen, and they would be able to enter their address. So let me just make sure I get council chambers correct. We'll load up here. So you just put in your address, click search. And if it searches, yeah, it is beta. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know if it's the internet connection or what. But so the idea really is here that what they can do is they enter in their address, and then it'll pull it up the district that they that address is located in. And the information provided in that district would show the council member. So yeah, it's definitely not pulling up. But so what it does is it shows the council member. It allows people to interact with them through a social media tool, either through Facebook or Twitter. And then it also will show all of the agenda items that are upcoming in that district. It starts with those, and then below that, it'll provide all of the citywide items. And you'll be able to click on an agenda item, review all the details, the associated attachments, and then the best feature is there is a type of forum where somebody could add their comments. So something very similar to Facebook or any of those other types of interactive forums. You can provide your comments, and then what's, I think, great for the city and for council is you'd be able to get an advanced view of kind of what the public thinks about an upcoming item. Might make it a little bit more helpful and easier to decide or make a decision on an upcoming topic. And then it's also a great opportunity for the city to kind of see what's out there and re-engage with somebody's comment if maybe they have a missing piece of information. We're able to kind of provide that for them or steer them in the right direction if they might be kind of going off track on what we were actually looking to accomplish. So obviously, yes. So obviously this is still in beta, 90% of the way done. And so what is the plan now for the next couple months is Tom and CFA are going to be working with Mesa IT to transition the product over from Code for America to our systems. And then we expect to kind of have that live launch towards the end of November. And we will be working with our PIO office to get the word out. Since it's an engagement tool, we want people to be able to know that it's there and actually engage. And we'll kind of keep watch and see how it goes. So I am happy to offline. I'm very sorry. I'm happy to offline show the application to everybody if there's an interest.
Councilmember Finter.
One quick question. I may have missed it. So the citizens are able to comment. Where is that directed to? Does that go to the individual council assistants, or is that gone to a clearinghouse that's then sent? How does that piece of it work?
Well,
and the timeline on that.
Sure. Vice Mayor Glover and Councilmember Finter. Right now, there's no central location where those comments would go. So it would be up to us as council assistants or as members of city staff to kind of monitor those comments. And again, anybody can view that. It's my goal that we would monitor those. And so if something came in for District 2, I'd be able to take a look at that and let you know the comments, and I could respond accordingly. So, and those would happen, they happen automatically. So, as soon as somebody puts in a comment, it's there and ready to be viewed and responded to.
Councilmember Luna.
So this is an application that we can download through iTunes or through Android phones, and we can just download it and make it available to the public, right?
So Vice Mayor Glover and Councilmember Luna, actually, it's not going to be a separate application that you necessarily download through an app store, but it is what's called responsive, and so you can pull it up on a mobile device, and it actually adjusts the view so that it's easy to use on whatever screen it is that you're using. So what people would do is instead of the application, they would actually just go to their web browser and pull up the URL for the application and interact through it that way.
Any additional questions? Well, Ian, Neil, thank you for your hard work on this. We look forward for this project to go forward.
Great. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is item 3, information pertaining to the current job order contracting projects. Are there any questions? All right. Moving on, item 4, acknowledge receipt of minutes of various boards and committees. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second? All in favor, vote aye. Aye. Next is your reports on meetings and or conferences attended. Councilmember Luna.
Well, we had a great Latino Town Hall this weekend, and we had 300 participate, and I was really grateful that the City of Mesa took a major role in that event, so I thank you so much for doing that. We also had Dia de los Muertos celebration over at the Mesa Arts Center. It was well attended. I heard something like 60,000 people were there during that weekend, so thank you so much for that, and that's it.
Really? I heard it was dead.
What's that?
I heard it was dead.
It's because you were there.
You went for the personal attack.
Any additional comments? All right. Next is scheduling of meetings and general information. Mr. Pompey.
Vice Mayor and Council, there's an Audit and Finance Enterprise Committee meeting following the study session today. Tonight, from 4:30 to 7 p.m., is the next Friends of Transit Mixer at Margarita Grill located at 10 West Main Street. Attendees can enjoy free appetizers and drink coupons and a chance to win one of several gift certificates to businesses on Main Street. Tomorrow, Councilmember Luna has office hours at Red Mountain Multi-Gen Center from 10 a.m. to noon. I believe that's on Halloween, and there is a rumor that there may be costumes at this actual office hours, so that's something to look forward to. This Saturday, November 1st, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., Councilmember Scott Summers is hosting his final pancake breakfast at Fire Station 219, located at 3361 South Signal Butte Road. Learn about the latest happenings in District 6 and meet newly elected Councilmember Kevin Thompson. The next council meeting is Monday, November 3rd. And November 6th study session will include an e-session for magistrate interviews. Those questions for those will be in your Dropbox hopefully soon.
Thank you, Mr. Pompey. Next item is adjournment. Can I get a motion? And a second. All in favor, vote aye. Aye. And we are adjourned. Thank you.